Hello, it's me, Nanaya Edu. Welcome to the Much Ado About Nothing podcast. So, if you're new here, my name's Nanaya. I'm 22. I live in East London. I'm a recent university graduate who's just trying to figure out this adulting thing. And essentially, this is a podcast where I do a bit of political and social commentary, basically. Um, I will basically discuss comments that I see in the Instagram comment section or YouTube comment section where I'm like, that's a bit of a problematic take, or ooh, interesting, let's discuss kind of energy. But yeah, that's a little bit about the podcast as a whole. Um, if that's something you're into, I hope you stay around. I hope you follow the podcast on TikTok and Instagram at Much Ado About Nothing Pod. But today it's actually going to be a bit different because if you're someone who is a follower or someone who's like a consistent listener, like, as soon as the episode drops, you're on it, you would probably realize that I haven't uploaded in a while. It's been a hot minute, to say the least. And what can I say? Life is doing what life does best, interrupting. It's funny because one of the things I set up for myself as a goal was consistency, but I've already broken it, and it's like the first month is not over yet. But to be fair, I've been up to a lot. I've been productive. Oh, that was like my throat made that sound. It sounded like a mic glitch. But that was my throat. That's crazy. Sorry, that really hit me out of nowhere. Anyway, back to what I was saying. Life has been a lifing. I've been getting up to a lot outside of this, so I'm trying not to be too hard on myself. But obviously, ideally, I wanted to be able to get something out every week. But one of my goals as well was finding a way of improving sound quality for content. And so I've been experimenting with things. And so hopefully you can hear a difference in terms of the sound and the sound quality. Hopefully it's better. So yeah, I'm trying out something new. So hopefully it's giving what it's supposed to give. And if it is, yes, tick. That's one goal already checked off my 2024 resolutions list. But yeah, as I said, this episode's going to be a bit different because I'm not going to be talking about a comment. I'm just going to be raw. I'm going to be raw dogging this episode. No script, no comment, no screenshot, no theme, just vibes. So, why am I doing this? I think I'm doing this because, first of all, I need a break. I need a break from the stuff I'm getting up to in front of a screen. I need a break. I need to speak. I need to chat. I need to have rant. But yeah, actually, I think I have a bit of a topic in mind now. So something really awful happened like on one of the days in the past week. I was on the train and seated in front of me was a man, and during the journey I was on the phone and this man proceeded to trigger warning. I think the trigger warning, what's the trigger for? Sexual harassment. I think that's the correct term for what happened, maybe? Potentially. It's actually really hard to figure out what category specifically, I think, but obviously, yeah, it's a crime and everything, but this man was basically touching himself inappropriately while looking at me repeatedly. So that was a really triggering and violating experience, and just the whole experience, including reporting the incidents, just kind of made me think, because you're probably like aware of, I think it's in Japan or somewhere like that, where there's women only carriages on trains. And it's never been something that I've really considered or been like, oh, this should definitely be a thing here. I don't know why, because it's like violence against women, women not feeling safe, all that stuff. It's stuff that we're familiar with. It's stuff that every other week you're like, we see something on social media about someone being attacked, someone being abused, touched, harassed, all that stuff, all that horrible stuff. It's like every other week we hear something or see something about it. But so why isn't it something that, I don't know, is being responded to in a really practical, tangible way, like with the introduction of, like, potentially introducing women only carriages on trains? And yeah, it's just something that came to mind. And I was like, you know what, maybe we should, maybe, I don't know, it's something I kind of, something specifically that I want to consider or look into is the data about how many reports of sexual harassment and incidents like what I described happen annually on the underground, specifically because that's the train train service, train provider that I had the experience. And previously, when I've seen similar things that have happened online, it's usually been the underground. So it's like, what does the data say? What does the data suggest? And also in terms of reporting or convictions where people were able to, where the case was able to reach that level, what does the data say? And yeah, it's, as I said, I haven't really done any research or preparation for this, so this is just thoughts flying at you straight up. No research into it. Who knows, maybe it's something that's even in the works, or there's been it's something that has been proposed or shut down and there's been a reason given for it or whatever. I don't know. So if you do know, and it's like, duh, well, this is the reason, ... Girl, I don't know. Like I said, this is all coming straight from my noggin. But yeah, feel free to hit my DMs up at Much Ado About Nothing Pod. Something you're also like interested in or have been personally affected by, or you just want to rant about it with someone, because I want to rant about it too, but it's obviously a really heavy thing, and it's like, can't just unload something like that on someone. Do you get what I mean? But yeah, I'm curious about what can be done, what should be done, what people think, because it's just awful, and I just don't want that for anyone. And women deserve better. Women's issues, women's security concerns, women's safety needs to be treated with urgency, and I feel like it never is. Like, a lot of the anger, a lot of the critical, tangible policy that is introduced is always done. I feel like a lot of the tangible, critical, real policy is usually introduced after something incredibly harmful has happened, rather than in response to, like, or like in a preventative way. It's like things usually aren't done to ensure women's safety, but things are also, a lot of the stuff done isn't even to ensure their safety or help to nurture or take care of their well-being. It's usually, especially like when thinking about, like, I don't know, crime, it's usually we're trying to get the person who did this, like, catch the person. But it's like, yeah, that's all and good, especially if you're someone who's like into, I don't know, punishment or stuff for crimes. But it's like, I don't, like, if a woman was offered the opportunity of her her attacker, abuser, getting jail time and the attack just not happening in the first place, what would you pick? Obviously you'd pick the latter. You just don't want to have to experience it and get justice after. You just don't want it to happen in the first place. And I feel like a lot needs to be done in that respect when we think about women's safety. Like it's so focused on catching the criminal and not making it hard for the crime to take place in the first place. You know what I mean? Anyway, this is a rant, okay? This is like a rant at its core. So yeah, kind of wish there was someone around here, like one of you guys, to bounce these ideas off. But to be fair, I don't. It's not really like an argument kind of thing. So it's like it's not a debate. It's just thinking out loud. Thinking out loud, baby. We found love right where we are. Can't help but sing songs when I sing, like when I mention lyrics related to them. It's so silly, but it's like it's so hard. My brain just goes there, girl. Anyway, okay, that's that. Is there anything else? Oh, I was listening to Nana Florence's podcast, Going with the Flow. If you aren't familiar with Naina, she's a YouTuber. I think she's currently a master's student, and yeah, she has a podcast as well. I think, yeah, her podcast actually inspired me in a lot of ways to start my podcast, not because we do similar things or the formats are similar in any way, but I don't know, I don't know. I don't know. I just feel like I like her, so I like her, I respect her thoughts, and I guess, girl, I actually don't know what, I don't know where I was going with this. Also, disclaimer, when I say girl, I'm using it in a gender neutral term. I don't know. It's like, bruv. I like girl. I don't know. Girl just feels nice. There's like a girl. Don't you like the sound? Girl? It's like so smooth, so silky. I love it. It's like girl, girly. It's like, what are you doing, girly? What are you up to, girly? It's just so soft, so accessible, open, welcoming. I don't know. Ooh. Um. So, what else? I feel like there's something else I want to say before I go. Yeah, I lost my train of thought. The thing I wanted to talk about, like the fact that I mentioned Naina, is because I was listening to her podcast and she was mentioning, like the theme and the topic was about influencing, and she made so many good points. And it's just like refreshing to hear someone who is an influencer and works in that industry be open, honest, critical, and not even like she wasn't having a dig at anyone or having a dig at influencing in general, but she was just being open and honest and acknowledging the inconsistencies or things that are just like those bits about influencing and I guess its impact on people, or just how it reveals the injustice in the world. Because a lot of things that she was complaining about, like she herself said, it's not like it's not like she doesn't think influencers should be able to do those things. It's more so she thinks non-influencing people, or people, for example, who work in healthcare or other roles that are really intense and demanding, she's like, she wants them to be able to have that, but obviously we live in a world where that's not the case. So I guess it's that injustice and how influencing kind of helps you see those injustices clearly. That's what was bugging her, and that's what bugs me too. I'm not upset by the fact that influencers could go on these amazing trips and live these wonderful lives, but it's more so it's unfair that they do it in a context where people who are arguably working harder, arguably doing more demanding things, aren't being um remunerated. Gosh, how do you say that? Remunerated well enough. It's like it's not fair that nurses have to strike to have pay, like enough pay to cover their bills. It's not fair that we live in a context where people can't afford housing, but influencers under 25 are buying houses left, right, and center. Like it's not that the issue isn't that you shouldn't be able to buy houses. The issue is that you can and all of us can't. But in terms of justification, it doesn't feel like there is a big enough, good enough justification. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like, obviously they're working, they're doing work, and the work allows them to do that, but it's more so some people are literally saving people's lives, and still it's like all that work's not good enough. It's like they still can't buy a house. It's like, I mean, yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame. It just feels like influencing kind of reveals a flaw in the system and how we value work in really like strictly monetary terms. Because I think, like, if you like influencer v doctor, everyone's going to be like, oh, doctor, like, it's more important societally than an influencer. Fair enough. That's true. That's true. Like, that's a fact. I'm sorry. Not going to do any argument about that. But, um, I don't know what the butt was going to. I don't know what the butt was going to. Lost my train of thought. But yeah, that's the point that she made, that I was like, yes, glad to hear someone discussing this. But also just like the fact that she was like, we think of influencers as like the individuals, but what they are marketers representing a brand, which is themselves, but also serving as ambassadors for brands. But they are essentially people working within marketing. And to think of it like that, it's like, it makes it more weird. And it's like, oh, it's like if someone's like, I don't know, because we kind of talk about them, relate to them, like there's almost like a friendship there, like almost like a solidarity there, but you wouldn't feel that same solidarity with like a car salesman. So you're like, you recognize in really clear terms, this man exists, this woman exists to sell you a car. And them being lovely, them mentioning maybe the fact that they have 2 kids and maybe you have 2 kids, and then being like, oh, I have 2 kids, that's so hard to, and then you're like, oh yeah, it's nice to know like you understand, like, yeah, that's a point of commonality, like that's like a common point, something that makes you to feel connected. But you still recognize that in spite of this man, this woman is selling me a car. That's the dynamic. They sell, I buy, or I don't buy. And it's like, that's the same dynamic between us as consumers of influencer content and the influencer. They're not our friend. And I don't know, I feel like you see this more clearly when in the way people talk about supporting influencers, like, oh, it's important to support this person, support this, and it's like, yeah, support, but like that's not your sister, unless it's your sister, it's not your brother, it's not your cousin. In fact, it's funny because every time we're talking about supporting small businesses, one thing that keeps coming up is the fact that people don't usually give that much energy to people who they actually know, who are embarking on certain like goals in terms of business, whatever that business looks like. People don't give as much energy to people they actually know and theoretically should care about more. They're more likely to give that energy to some random person, and then use language to justify that, language that makes it seem like the relationship is one that's more like one that like mirrors one of a friendship or a familiar relationship. But it's like, that person is not your friend. And I feel like that it's more visible when we think about minority people from minoritized communities, like black and brown people, or people who feel, or people who belong to the LGBTQ plus community, just like people whose identities ordinarily were not really a positive, but in the context of people, well, not people, companies needing to seem more diverse and things, are seeking out people like that even more. So it's like a positive for the company. But in that sense, people from those communities who work as influencers or in a similar capacity are able to draw on that solidarity and sense of community from the respective community they belong to, in a way that's like, you trust me, you're rooting for me just because I represent you, but fundamentally I'm just an employee. and you help me get the commission, but I'm framing it in terms where it feels more liberatory, more about our liberation, but it's not our liberation though, is it? We're getting a check. And because you and me have certain qualities that mean we're kind of similar to some degree, I kind of almost see you as a reflection of myself, and I see your wins as a reflection. Not as a reflection, I see your wins almost like a win for me, but in reality, that's not the case. And I feel like the bigger celebrity or influencer gets, that becomes more clear, because it becomes more clear how sheltered they are from things that affect people, and that people get mad and start being really awful and spiteful and start interacting with them like they're not a person. But that's why that happens. So it's just interesting. I'm really excited. That's a bit of a stretch, but you know what, I'm looking forward to more academic papers being made about the influencing industry, like the psychological impact or effect, or the economic impact. I don't know, you know what I mean. Like, I'm interested in the academic discussions that are going to arise as the industry and our experiences with it become further entrenched in our current society and the imagined one. Because I think it's clear that influencing is here and possibly here to stay, but maybe it's going to reshift, maybe it's going to evolve, and I'm curious. But yeah, it's been a lot of chatting, hasn't it? This is a bit of a tester episode. If this is a format that you're a fan of, do let me know. If the sound quality is something you're like, yes, go on girl, let me know and I'll take that on board. But thank you so much for joining me. Yeah. And please, if you're listening and you're like, you want to get involved in the conversation, you want to let me know what you think, do it. Literally just message me. But it's been so lovely to just I was gonna say unload, but there's just something funny about saying that. Feels a bit wrong. Like, apart from the innuendo bit, it feels like, I don't know, something trauma dumpy about being like, it's so nice to unload on you guys, because it's like, obviously the first section was a bit of a heavy, possibly triggering discussion, so I really apologize. And you know what, okay, let's do a few deep breaths. Yeah, I mean, not me acting like a few deep breaths are going to cancel out any possible damage, but come on now. Okay, let's breathe in for 3 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, and breathe out for 3 seconds. Okay, you ready? Let's start. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Thank you so much for spending this time with me, and hopefully I can't make any promises, but see you soon.